So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. In the gentle hush before dawn, when the world of Tamriel lies wrapped in a silvery mist and the boundaries between waking and dream begin to blur, there is a stillness that settles over the land. A moment suspended between the fading embrace of night and the promise of a new day. It is in these quiet hours that the influence of Azura, the Daedric Prince of Dusk and Dawn, is most keenly felt. Her presence lingers in the shifting colors of the sky, in the cool breath of the wind that stirs the leaves, and in the soft glow that bathes the world in hues of lavender and blue. For those who listen with open hearts, her voice is a whisper carried on the breeze, a gentle invitation to step beyond the boundaries of the mundane and into the realm of dreams. In the eastern reaches of Morrowind, where the mountains rise like ancient sentinels and the land is veiled in perpetual twilight, there exists a hidden shrine dedicated to Azura. It is a place known only to a few, a sanctuary for those who seek solace, wisdom, and the comfort of dreams. The path to the shrine winds through groves of moon-silvered trees and fields of night-blooming flowers, their petals trembling with dew. The air is cool and fragrant, filled with the scent of star jasmine and the distant echo of songbirds greeting the coming dawn. The shrine itself is a marvel of quiet beauty, its stones worn smooth by the passage of countless pilgrims. At its heart stands a statue of Azura, carved from a single piece of midnight blue stone, her eyes set with gems that catch the first light of morning. She is depicted with arms outstretched, as if to gather the dreams of her followers and cradle them in her embrace. Around her feet, offerings of flowers, candles, and small tokens of gratitude are arranged in careful patterns, each one a testament to the hopes and fears of those who have come seeking her guidance. It is here, in the sacred stillness of the shrine, that the dreamers of Azura gather. They come from all walks of life, merchants and farmers, scholars and soldiers, young and old alike. Each is drawn by a longing that cannot be named, a yearning for something just beyond the reach of waking thought. For some, it is the hope of a vision to light their path. For others, the promise of comfort in the face of sorrow or uncertainty. Whatever their reasons, they find themselves united in the quiet communion of the shrine, their hearts open to the mysteries of dusk and dawn. As the first rays of sunlight touch the horizon, the dreamers settle themselves in a circle around Azura's statue. They close their eyes, breathing in the cool morning air, and let their thoughts drift like leaves on a gentle stream. In this liminal space, neither fully awake nor fully asleep, they surrender themselves to the embrace of dreams. It is a sacred ritual, performed in silence, each dreamer trusting in Azura's guidance to lead them where they need to go. In these moments, the world seems to shift and soften. The boundaries between past and future, between self and other, begin to dissolve. The dreamers find themselves walking along a path of starlight, their steps guided by a silver star that hovers always just ahead. The air is filled with the music of distant bells and the scent of flowers that bloom only in dreams. Here, in this twilight realm, the worries of the waking world fall away, replaced by a sense of peace and wonder. It is in this place that Azura's voice is clearest, a gentle murmur that weaves through the dreams of her followers, offering comfort and wisdom in equal measure. She speaks not in words, but in images and feelings, the warmth of sunlight on skin, the cool touch of moonlight, the gentle caress of a breeze. Her presence is a balm for weary hearts, a reminder that even in the darkest night, there is always the promise of dawn. For the dreamers, these journeys are more than mere flights of fancy. They're a source of strength and guidance, a way to make sense of the challenges and joys of daily life. The visions they receive are as varied as the dreamers themselves. Some see glimpses of the future, others are visited by loved ones long gone, and still others find themselves wandering through landscapes of memory and possibility. Whatever the content of their dreams, each dreamer awakens with a sense of renewal, their spirits lifted by the touch of Azura's grace. As the sun rises higher in the sky and the world stirs to life, the dreamers slowly return to themselves. They open their eyes, blinking in the soft light, and share quiet smiles with those around them. There is no need for words. The bond they share is deeper than speech, forged in the silent communion of dreams. Together, they rise and offer their thanks to Azura, leaving the shrine with hearts full of hope and a renewed sense of purpose. The dreamers of Azura carry the memory of these twilight journeys with them throughout the day. In moments of doubt or difficulty, they close their eyes and recall the feeling of walking beneath the stars, guided by the gentle hand of their patron. They know that, no matter what challenges may come, they are never truly alone. Azura's presence is always with them, a constant source of comfort and inspiration. And so, as dusk falls once more and the world is bathed in the soft glow of twilight, the dreamers return to the shrine. They gather in silence, ready to embark on another journey into the realm of dreams, trusting in Azura to guide them safely through the night and into the promise of a new dawn. Hidden deep within the high valleys of Morrowind, where the world seems forever brushed by the hues of twilight, lies a place known to few and spoken of in hushed, reverent tones by those who have glimpsed its wonders. The path to the shrine is not marked on any map, nor is it found by those who seek it with restless feet or hungry eyes. Instead, it reveals itself to the quiet-hearted, to those who listen for the music of the wind and watch for the subtle dance of starlight upon dew-laden grass. It is a place that exists, it seems, halfway between the waking world and the realm of dreams, a sanctuary shaped by the will of Azura herself. The valley that cradles the shrine is a tapestry of shadow and light, its slopes cloaked in groves of moon-silvered trees whose leaves shimmer with every breath of wind. At night, the branches catch the pale glow of Maser and Secunda, the twin moons, and scatter it across the ground in patterns that shift and swirl like the surface of a tranquil lake. Wildflowers bloom in abundance here, their petals painted in every shade of blue and violet, their fragrance mingling with the cool air to create a scent both unfamiliar and achingly sweet. The land feels untouched by time, as if the world outside has forgotten this valley and all its secrets. At the heart of this sacred place stands the shrine itself, a structure both simple and sublime. Its foundation is a circle of stones, each one polished smooth by the hands of countless pilgrims and set with fragments of crystal that catch the faintest glimmer of starlight. Rising from the center is the statue of Azura, carved from a single piece of stone so dark it seems to drink in the night. She is depicted as both mother and maiden, her arms outstretched in welcome, her gaze serene and knowing. Gems of deep sapphire and pale opal are set into her brow and hands, and when the moons are full, they glow with an inner fire, casting gentle beams of light that dance across the shrine. It is said that on certain nights, when the sky is clear and the stars burn bright, the shrine becomes a beacon, a place where the veil between worlds grows thin and the presence of Azura can be felt as surely as the cool touch of the evening breeze. Pilgrims come from distant corners of Morrowind and beyond, drawn by dreams and whispered promises. Some travel alone, guided by visions that linger at the edge of sleep. Others arrive in small, silent groups, their faces marked by hope or sorrow, longing or gratitude. All are welcomed by the keepers of the shrine, the gentle fellowship who tend to the sacred stones and offer quiet guidance to those who seek it. The keepers themselves are a diverse lot, Dunmer and Outlanders alike, young and old, each with their own story of how they came to serve at the shrine. Some were born in the valley, raised on tales of Azura's grace and the miracles she bestows upon her faithful. Others arrived as wanderers, lost or broken, and found healing in the tranquil beauty of the place. All share a devotion to the Lady of Twilight, and all have learned to listen for her voice in the rustle of leaves, the song of night birds, and the hush that falls just before dawn. Each night, as dusk deepens and the first stars appear, the keepers light candles and place them around the statue in careful patterns, tracing the constellations that will above. They sing hymns in soft, lilting voices, songs old as the mountains, their melodies woven with longing and hope. The air shimmers with the sound, and those who listen feel their burdens lift, their hearts growing lighter with each note. It is a ritual both ancient and ever new, a way of welcoming the dreams that Azura sends to those who open themselves to her. Among the pilgrims who come to the shrine, there are those who seek answers to questions that trouble their waking hours. They kneel before Azura's statue, eyes closed, and let their thoughts drift like leaves on a gentle stream. In the silence that follows, some find visions rising within them, images of distant places, faces lost to time, or paths yet to be walked. Others feel only a sense of peace, a quiet assurance that whatever comes, they are not alone. The keepers teach that every dream is a gift, a thread in the tapestry of fate, and that Azura's wisdom often reveals itself in ways both subtle and profound. There are also those who come to give thanks for healing received, for love found, for sorrows eased. They bring offerings of flowers, woven garlands, or simple tokens carved from wood or stone. These gifts are placed at Azura's feet, joining the countless tributes left by those who came before. The shrine is rich with memories, each offering a silent prayer, a hope carried on the wind. On certain nights, when both Masser and Secunda hang full and bright in the sky, the valley is transformed. The air seems to hum with energy, and the shrine is bathed in a silvery glow so pure it brings tears to the eyes of those who witness it. The keepers gather the pilgrims in a great circle, their faces illuminated by moonlight, and lead them in a ritual known as the Star Blessing. Each person is given a small stone, polished smooth and cool to the touch, and invited to hold it close as they close their eyes and open their hearts to Azura's presence. In the silence that follows, a sense of unity fills the air, a feeling of being part of something vast and eternal. Some say they hear the voice of Azura herself, gentle and loving, whispering words of comfort and hope. Others feel a warmth spreading through their bodies, a lightness that lingers long after the ritual ends. When the circle breaks, the pilgrims leave their stones at the base of the statue, adding to the growing mound of offerings that glimmers in the moonlight. The shrine is not only a place of dreams and visions, but also a refuge for those in need. The keepers tend to the sick and weary, offering healing herbs and gentle words. They listen to the stories of those who arrive with heavy hearts, offering counsel drawn from their own journeys and the wisdom of Azura. It is said that no one leaves the shrine unchanged, that even the most troubled soul finds some measure of peace within its star-blessed embrace. As dawn approaches and the sky begins to pale, the valley is filled with a soft, golden light. The candles flicker and fade, and the keepers move quietly among the stones, gathering the offerings and tending to the statue. The pilgrims prepare to depart, some lingering for a final moment of reflection, others already planning their return. The shrine remains a beacon of hope and comfort, its stones warmed by the rising sun and the memory of countless dreams. In the days that follow, those who visited the shrine carry its blessings with them. They remember the hush of the valley, the shimmer of starlight on stone, the gentle touch of Azura's presence. In moments of doubt or sorrow, they close their eyes and recall the peace they found beneath her gaze, trusting that the Lady of Twilight will guide them, as she always has, through the shifting shadows of life and into the promise of a new dawn. Long before the shrine was known to pilgrims from distant lands, before the valley was marked by the gentle footfalls of the dreamers or the hush of nightly hymns, there was only the quiet, the stars, and the endless, patient watch of Azura. In those days, the valley was a secret even to the Dunmere who dwelled in the shadow of Red Mountain, a place spoken of only in the oldest tales, whispered by grandmothers to children as the moons rose high. It was a land of mists and memory, where the world seemed to breathe in time with the slow, steady pulse of the earth itself. It was here, in this untouched cradle of twilight, that the story of the first dreamer began. Her name was Saren, a child of no particular note, born to a family of modest means in a village that clung to the edge of the wilds. Saren was quiet, her voice rarely rising above a murmur, her eyes always turned to the horizon where the sky burned with the colors of dusk. She loved the hush that fell over the world as day faded into night, the way the stars blinked awake one by one, each a promise of something more. While other children chased each other through the fields, Saren wandered alone, gathering wildflowers and listening to the wind as it whispered secrets only she seemed to hear. Her dreams were different from those of others. While her kin dreamed of daily worries or the echoes of the past, Saren's dreams were vivid tapestries of color and light, filled with places she had never seen and voices that spoke in riddles. She saw rivers of starlight winding through endless fields, mountains crowned with silver mist, and a woman's face, beautiful and terrible, framed by the shifting glow of dawn and dusk. Night after night, She awoke with her heart pounding, the memory of the dreams lingering like the taste of honey on her tongue. One evening, as the sun dipped below the mountains and the first stars began to shimmer, Saren felt a pull, a gentle tug at the edge of her awareness, as if the world itself was calling her name. She slipped from her bed and crept through the sleeping village, her bare feet silent on the cool earth. The path before her was lit by moonlight, the air thick with the scent of blooming night flowers. She walked without fear, guided by a certainty she could not explain, her steps carrying her deeper into the valley than she had ever dared to go. The world grew quieter as she walked, the sounds of the village fading behind her, replaced by the soft music of the wind and the trees. The path wound through groves of ancient oaks and fields of blue-violet flowers that glowed faintly in the darkness. Saren felt the presence of something vast and loving surrounding her, a warmth that filled her chest and eased the ache of loneliness she had carried for as long as she could remember. At last, she came upon the shrine, a circle of stones, half hidden by wild growth, and at its center, the statue of Azura. The Daedric prince's eyes were set with gems that caught the moonlight, casting ripples of silver across the ground. Saren knelt before the statue, her heart full of wonder and awe, and as she bowed her head, a wave of drowsiness washed over her. She surrendered to it willingly, curling up at Azura's feet as sleep claimed her. In her dream, the world was transformed. She stood on a path of starlight, the sky above her ablaze with constellations she had never seen. The air was filled with the scent of jasmine and the distant sound of bells. Azura appeared before her, radiant and serene, her voice a melody that filled Saren's mind with peace. "Child of dusk and dawn," Azura said, her words echoing like the chime of crystal, "you have come seeking, though you know not what you seek. You are the first, but not the last. Through you, my voice will be heard. Through your dreams, others will find their way." Saren felt a warm blossom in her chest, a sense of belonging she had never known. Azura reached out and touched her brow, and in that moment, Saren's mind was flooded with visions, futures yet to come, woven with threads of hope and sorrow, joy and loss. She saw herself standing among a circle of dreamers, guiding them through the twilight, her voice steady and sure. She saw the valley transformed by the presence of those who had come seeking, each one touched by Azura's grace. When she awoke, the world was bathed in the pale light of dawn. The statue of Azura seemed to glow with an inner fire, and Saren felt a new strength within her, a sense of purpose that banished her old fears. She rose and returned to her village, her steps light, her heart full. Though she spoke little of what had happened, those who knew her saw the change, a quiet confidence, a gentleness that drew others to her. Word of Saren's dreams spread, carried on the wind and in the songs of travelers. Others began to seek her out, drawn by the hope of visions and the promise of comfort. Saren welcomed them all, guiding them to the shrine beneath the stars, teaching them to listen for Azura's voice in the silence. Together, they formed the first fellowship of dreamers, united by the nightly journeys they undertook and the gentle wisdom they found in the realm of dreams. And so, from the quiet heart of a single child, the legacy of the dreamers began, a legacy that would endure through the ages, each generation adding its own thread to the tapestry of twilight woven by Azura's loving hands. Saren's first night at the shrine became legend, not only for her gentle courage, but for the gift Azura bestowed upon her as she slept beneath the Daedric prince's outstretched arms. The world of dreams, which had always shimmered at the edge of Saren's awareness, now opened before her like a vast and welcoming sea. In that sacred twilight, where the boundaries of past and future softened, and the voice of Azura rang clear as a bell, Saren received a vision that would shape not only her life, but the destiny of all who would come after her. She wandered through a landscape woven from starlight and memory, each step echoing with the songs of distant constellations. The air was thick with the scent of moon sugar and the soft rustle of unseen wings. Time itself seemed to slow, then spiral outward, revealing moments yet to be and stories waiting to unfold. Saren felt herself lifted, as if carried by a gentle current, and she gazed down upon the valley she had left behind. She saw it as it was, as it would be, and as it might become, each vision layered atop the next, shimmering in the half-light. Azura's presence enveloped her, warm and serene, and with a touch as light as the brush of dawn, The Daedric prince opened Saren's mind to the flow of fate. "You are my chosen," Azura whispered, her voice echoing through the dreamscape. "To you I grant the gift of sight, not only of what is, but of what may yet be. Through you, my wisdom will guide those who seek comfort in the dusk and hope in the dawn." With these words, Saren's vision deepened. She saw faces she did not know, pilgrims and wanderers, their eyes bright with longing gathering at the shrine, seeking answers in the hush of night. She saw storms gathering on distant horizons, bringing both sorrow and renewal. She saw herself, older and steadier, welcoming those who arrived with heavy hearts, offering gentle words and the promise of dreams yet to come. As Saren drifted through these visions, she felt the weight of responsibility settle upon her shoulders. The gift of prophecy was not a simple blessing. It was a thread woven through the fabric of her being, binding her to the fates of all who had come to the shrine. She understood, in that moment, that her life would be one of service, not only to Azura, but to every soul who sought solace in the twilight. When Saren awoke, the first light of dawn was painting the valley in hues of gold and rose. The air was cool and still, and the statue of Azura seemed to glow with an inner fire, as if the Daedric prince herself lingered in the stone. Saren rose slowly, her heart pounding with the memory of her dream, and she knew that her life had changed forever. In the days that followed, Saren's visions became a source of wonder and comfort to those around her. She spoke of things that had not yet come to pass, of dangers avoided and joys discovered, and her words carried the quiet certainty of one who had seen the shape of fate. The villagers, at first wary, soon came to trust her gentle wisdom, and they began to seek her counsel in matters both great and small. Saren did not always understand the visions she received. Sometimes they came as flashes of color or snatches of psalm, elusive and fleeting. Other times they arrived in dreams so vivid she awoke with tears on her cheeks, her heart aching with the beauty or sorrow of what she had seen. She learned to accept these gifts as they came, trusting that Azura's wisdom would reveal itself in time. As word of Saren's gift spread, others began to journey to the valley, drawn by tales of the dreamer who could see beyond the veil of the present. They arrived with questions heavy on their tongues and hope shining in their eyes, and Saren welcomed them all. She listened to their stories, shared her visions, and taught them to find peace in the gentle rhythms of dusk and dawn. The shrine became a place of pilgrimage, its stones warmed by the footsteps of those who sought answers in the twilight. Saren's gift of prophecy became the heart of the fellowship that grew around her, a gentle beacon guiding all who wandered through the darkness toward the promise of a new day. And so, the legacy of the first dreamer was born, not in grand proclamations or feats of magic, but in the quiet, steadfast sharing of dreams and the gift of hope that Azura had placed in Saren's keeping. As seasons turned and Saren's gift of prophecy became known beyond her small village, the valley's secret began to ripple outward, carried on the wind, and in the quiet songs of travelers who had found solace at the shrine. What began as a solitary journey soon became the first thread in a tapestry woven by many hands and hearts. The shrine, once a silent witness to Saren's private communion with Azura, grew into a beacon, a place where the lost, the hopeful, and the weary might gather beneath the gaze of the Lady of Twilight. They came in twos and threes at first, drawn by stories that seemed half dream, half memory. A merchant, burdened by grief for a child lost to fever, sought the comfort of a vision that might ease the ache in his soul. A Dunmere priestess, her faith shaken by the cruelties of war, arrived with empty hands and a heart full of questions. A young Ashlander, marked by dreams of fire and falling stars, wandered into the valley with only a tattered cloak and the hope that someone might finally understand the things he saw each night behind his closed eyes. Saren welcomed them all. She greeted each traveler with a gentle smile and a listening ear, never pressing for stories, but always ready to receive them. In the evenings, as the sky melted from gold to indigo, she would lead her guests to the shrine. There, beneath the outstretched arms of Azura's statue, they would sit in a circle, the air fragrant with wildflowers and the hush of approaching night. Saren would speak softly, her words weaving a spell of peace and belonging, inviting each soul to surrender their burdens to the gentle embrace of dusk. It was not long before the gathering of dreamers became a ritual in itself. Each night, as Maser and Secunda rose in tandem, the circle around the shrine would grow. Some brought offerings, garlands of night-blooming flowers, small carvings of wood or bone, or simply a handful of fragrant herbs. Others brought nothing but themselves, trusting that their presence was enough. All were welcome, for the shrine belonged to none and to all, a sanctuary shaped by the needs and hopes of those who found their way to its star-blessed stones. As the dreamers settled into the rhythm of their new fellowship, a gentle order began to emerge. Velis, an elder with a voice like worn velvet and eyes that missed nothing, took it upon himself to keep a journal of the dreams shared each night. By the flickering light of a single candle, he would record the visions that tumbled forth, some bright with hope, others shadowed by sorrow, all woven together by the common thread of Azura's presence. The journal became a living tapestry, its pages filled with the stories and secrets of the dreamers, a comfort to those who feared the future and a guide for those who sought meaning in the patterns of their sleep. Not all who came to the shrine were seekers of prophecy. Some arrived simply in need of rest, their bodies worn thin by the hardships of travel or the weight of grief. For these, the dreamers offered gentle care, a bowl of warm broth, a blanket woven from soft reeds, a place by the fire where silence was honored as deeply as any spoken word. In time, even the most guarded souls found themselves drawn into the circle, their hearts opening like flowers at dawn, nurtured by the kindness and acceptance that flowed through the fellowship. The dreams themselves became a source of wonder and unity. Each night, as the dreamers surrendered to sleep, they found themselves walking together along a path of starlight, their steps guided by a silver star that hovered always just ahead. The dreamscape was ever-changing, sometimes a field of blue and violet flowers, sometimes a forest lit by the gentle glow of fireflies, sometimes a shoreline where the waves whispered secrets only the heart could understand. In this realm, the boundaries between self and other softened, and the dreamers learned to trust not only in Azura's wisdom, but in the strength and compassion of their newfound family. As the circle of dreamers grew, so too did the sense of purpose that bound them together. They began to care for the shrine as one, tending the wildflowers that grew between the stones, repairing the offerings that time and weather had worn away, and singing hymns that echoed through the valley long after the last note had faded. Each act of service became a prayer, a way of honoring the Lady of Twilight and the gift of dreams she bestowed upon her faithful. In the quiet moments before dawn, as the dreamers awoke from their nightly journeys, they would gather once more around the shrine. There, in the soft light of morning, they shared their visions, some bright, some bittersweet, all welcomed and cherished. Saren listened to each story with the same gentle attention, offering comfort where it was needed and celebrating each small miracle that emerged from the realm of dreams. The gathering of the dreamers became a living testament to the power of hope, compassion, and shared purpose. What began as a solitary pilgrimage had blossomed into a fellowship that would endure through seasons of joy and sorrow, its roots sinking deep into the heart of the valley, its branches reaching ever outward toward the promise of a new dawn. The Valley of the Dreamers, already a place set apart from the world, seemed to hold its breath on those rare nights when both Maser and Secunda, the twin moons, rose full and bright in the sky. The air itself shimmered with anticipation, as if the land and the heavens had agreed upon a secret truce, suspending the ordinary flow of time so that the sacred might unfold. It was on these nights that the dreamers gathered for the Moon and Star ritual, a ceremony older than memory, whispered to Saren in her earliest visions and now woven into the very heart of their fellowship. Preparation for the ritual began at dusk, when the last rays of sunlight slipped behind the mountains and the world was painted in hues of indigo and silver. The dreamers moved quietly through the valley, gathering wildflowers with petals that glowed faintly in the growing darkness, and collecting smooth stones from the banks of the stream that wound its way through the shrine. Each stone was chosen with care, its surface polished by the water's patient touch, its shape pleasing to the hand. These would become the vessels for their dreams, tokens of hope and memory to be offered to Azura beneath the gaze of the motes. As night deepened, the dreamers assembled at the shrine, forming a great circle around the statue of Azura. Candles were lit and placed at the cardinal points, their flames flickering in the gentle breeze, casting long shadows that danced across the stones. The air was filled with the scent of night-blooming flowers and the soft murmur of voices, each dreamer speaking words of gratitude or longing, their prayers rising like smoke to mingle with the stars. Saren stood at the center of the circle, her presence calm and luminous, her eyes reflecting the light of Maser and Secunda as they climbed the sky. She spoke softly, her voice weaving through the hush, inviting each dreamer to hold their chosen stone close and close their eyes. "Tonight, we walk together beneath the blessing of the moons," she intoned, "and offer our dreams to Azura, who watches over dusk and dawn. Let your hearts be open, your minds at peace, and your spirits ready to receive the gifts of the night." One by one, the dreamers surrendered to the ritual, their breathing slowing, their bodies relaxing as they let go of the cares of the waking world. In the silence that followed, the boundaries between self and other, between earth and sky, seemed to dissolve. The valley was transformed, bathed in the gentle light of the moons, the stones and flowers shimmering as if touched by some unseen hand. It was as if the world itself had become a dream, a place where anything was possible and every sorrow could be healed. Within the circle, the dreamers began to sing, a wordless melody that rose and fell like the tide, its harmonies woven from longing and hope. The sound filled the valley, echoing off the mountains and drifting upward to the waiting stars. It was a song of unity, of gratitude for the gift of dreams and the comfort of fellowship. As the music swelled, the air seemed to thicken, charged with a gentle energy that tingled against the skin and filled the heart with peace. In this sacred space, visions came easily. Some dreamers saw themselves walking along a path of starlight, guided by a silver star that hovered just ahead. Others found themselves in fields of blue and violet flowers, the scent of jasmine and the sound of distant bells filling their senses. Still others were visited by loved ones long gone, their presence as real and comforting as the touch of a hand or the warmth of an embrace. Each vision was a gift, a message from Azura, woven from the threads of memory and possibility. As the ritual reached its height, Saren invited the dreamers to place their stones at the feet of Azura's statue. Each offering was made in silence, a gesture of trust and surrender, a promise to carry the wisdom of the night into the light of day. The mount of stones grew, glimmering in the moonlight, a testament to the hopes and dreams of all who had come before. When the last stone had been placed, Saren led the dreamers in a final prayer, her voice soft and steady. "Azura, Lady of Twilight, Keeper of Dreams and Guardian of the In-Between, we thank you for your gifts. Guide us through the darkness and into the dawn. Let our hearts remain open, our spirits strong, and our dreams ever bright." The candles were extinguished one by one, their smoke curling into the night. The dreamers lingered in the silence, savoring the peace that filled the valley, the sense of connection that bound them to each other and to the world beyond. In the days that followed, they would carry the memory of the ritual with them, a source of strength and comfort in times of doubt or sorrow. The Moon and Star ritual became the heartbeat of the dreamers' fellowship, a reminder that even in the darkest night, there is beauty and hope to be found. It was a celebration of unity, of the power of dreams, and of the gentle wisdom of Azura, who watched over them all from the shifting twilight between dusk and dawn. On the nights following the Moon and Star ritual, the dreamers found themselves changed, not just in spirit, but in the very fabric of their sleep. It was as if the ritual had opened a door within each of them, a threshold between the waking world and the realm of dreams that now beckoned with gentle insistence. Sleep came easily, a soft descent into a world that shimmered with possibility, and the dreamers soon discovered that their journeys through this realm were not solitary. There was a path, luminous and winding, that called to them all, a road of dreams that they would walk together. The dream road revealed itself first to Saren, who had always been attuned to the subtle currents of Azura's twilight. On the night after the ritual, she drifted into sleep beneath the shrine's protective gaze and found herself standing at the edge of a vast field, the sky above alive with swirling constellations. A silver star hovered just ahead, pulsing with gentle light, and as Saren stepped forward, she felt the presence of others, her fellow dreamers, gathering at her side. Their forms were softened by the haze of dream, but she recognized them by the warmth of their spirits, the quiet hope that bound them all. Together, they began to walk the dream road, their footsteps leaving no mark on the soft, glowing earth. The path wound through landscapes both familiar and strange, fields of blue and violet flowers, forests where the trees whispered secrets and voices only the heart could understand, rivers that flowed with starlight instead of water. Each step carried them deeper into the realm of Azura, where the boundaries of past and future, self and other, faded into gentle unity. On the dream road, time flowed differently. Moments stretched and folded, allowing the dreamers to linger in places that called to their souls. Sometimes they walked in silence, savoring the peace that filled the air. Other times, they shared stories and laughter, their voices echoing like music through the dreamscape. There was a sense of freedom here, a release from the burdens of the waking world, and the dreamers found themselves opening to one another in ways they never had before. The dream road was not without its challenges. Shadows sometimes flickered at the edges of the path, memories of sorrow or doubt, fears that had not yet been laid to rest. But Azura's presence was always near, a gentle light that dispelled the darkness and reminded the dreamers that they were never truly alone. When one faltered, the others offered support, their hands and hearts reaching out in silent solidarity. In this way, the dreamers learned to trust not only in Azura's wisdom, but in the strength of their fellowship. As the dreamers journeyed together, they discovered that the dream road was more than a place of beauty and solace. It was a source of guidance, a living tapestry woven from the threads of their hopes and fears, their memories and desires. Visions came to them as they walked, glimpses of futures yet to unfold, messages from loved ones long gone, moments of clarity that illuminated the path ahead. Each vision was a gift, a piece of the puzzle that was their shared destiny, and the dreamers learned to cherish these moments, recording them in Velis's ever-growing journal upon waking. The dream road also became a place of healing. Old wounds, both physical and emotional, softened beneath the gentle touch of Azura's light. The dreamers found themselves forgiving past hurts, releasing regrets that had weighed them down, and embracing the possibility of new beginnings. In the dreamscape, they were free to be their truest selves, unburdened by the expectations of the waking world. This freedom brought a sense of renewal, a quiet joy that lingered long after they awoke. As the nights passed, the dreamers grew ever closer, their bonds deepening with each journey along the dream road. They became a family, bound not by blood, but by the shared experience of walking together through Azura's twilight realm. Their fellowship became a source of strength and comfort, a reminder that even in the darkest night, there was always a light to guide them home. And so, the dream road became the heart of the dreamers' lives, a place of beauty, wisdom, and hope, where the gifts of Azura flowed freely and the promise of a new dawn was always within reach. As the dreamers continued their nightly journeys along the dream road, the realm of Azura's twilight offered not only comfort and unity, but also visions, images and sensations that hinted at the shifting tides of fate. These were not always gentle or easy to understand. They arrived as flashes of insight, moments of clarity, or even as storms that swept through the dreamscape, leaving the dreamers breathless and changed. In these visions, Azura revealed the truth of her domain, that dusk is not simply an ending, but the herald of transformation, and that every dream carries within it the seeds of change. On one such night, as the dreamers walked together beneath a sky swirling with violet and gold, the air thick with the scent of unseen blossoms, the dream road itself seemed to ripple and shift. Saren, ever attuned to the subtle currents of Azura's realm, felt a tremor beneath her feet, a gentle warning, like the first sigh of wind before a summer storm. The silver star that guided their path pulsed more brightly, and the dreamers instinctively drew closer, sensing that something profound was about to unfold. The vision came not as a single image, but as a series of overlapping moments, each layered upon the next like the petals of a night-blooming flower. Saren saw herself standing before the shrine, her face older, her hair streaked with silver. Around her, the circle of dreamers had grown, their faces both familiar and new. She saw laughter and tears, hands joined in celebration and in mourning, the bonds of fellowship deepening with each passing season. Yet she also saw shadows, uncertainty flickering at the edge of the valley, the arrival of strangers whose intentions were unclear, and the slow, inevitable march of time that would bring both joy and sorrow to their sanctuary. Other dreamers received visions of their own. Velis, the elder who kept the journal, dreamed of a great storm sweeping across the valley, uprooting old growth and scattering seeds far and wide. When he awoke, he understood change was coming, and with it, the need for resilience and adaptability. Nyril, the young woman who had once struggled with her fate, saw herself standing at a crossroads, the paths before her shrouded in mist. In her heart, she felt both fear and excitement, the knowledge that her choices would shape not only her own destiny, but that of the entire fellowship. Some dreamers saw visions of reunion, long-lost loved ones returning, friendships healed, and old wounds finally given the chance to mend. Others glimpsed moments of parting, the bittersweet ache of farewells that must be spoken so that new beginnings could take root. Through it all, Azura's presence was a constant, her voice a thread of silver weaving through the tapestry of dreams. "Change is the nature of dusk and dawn," she whispered, "and in every ending, there is the promise of a new beginning." The dreamers awoke from these visions with a sense of awe and trepidation. The world outside the shrine seemed subtly altered, the colors brighter, the air charged with possibility. They gathered in the soft light of morning, sharing their dreams and seeking meaning in the patterns that emerged. Velis recorded each vision with care, his journal growing thicker with every passing night. Saren listened to the stories of her companions, offering comfort where she could, and reminding them that Azura's wisdom was not always easy to understand, but always offered with love. As the days turned to weeks, the dreamers found themselves more attuned to the rhythms of change. They learned to welcome new faces into their circle, to let go of old grievances, and to embrace the uncertainty that came with every dawn. The shrine became a place not only of solace, but of transformation, a living testament to the power of dreams and the courage it took to face the unknown. Through the visions of change, the dreamers discovered that their fellowship was not a static thing, but a living, breathing community shaped by the choices and experiences of each member. They learned to trust in the process of becoming, to find beauty in the shifting shadows of dusk, and to celebrate the promise of every new day. And in this way, the dreamers honored Azura, not only as the Lady of Twilight, but as the gentle guide who led them through the ever-changing landscape of their own hearts. Among the dreamers, there was one whose purpose was as vital and enduring as the shrine itself. Velis, the keeper of memories. Velis was neither the youngest nor the oldest of the fellowship, but his eyes held the quiet weight of many seasons. He had arrived at the valley with little more than a walking stick and a satchel of worn parchment, drawn by the same longing that had called Saren and so many others. Yet, from the first night he joined the circle, it was clear that Velis possessed a rare gift, not the vivid prophecy of Saren, but a gentle patience and a reverence for the stories of others. Velis believed that every dream, every vision, every whispered hope was a thread in the tapestry of Azura's twilight. He saw the value in recording not just the grand prophecies, but the small moments of comfort and transformation that marked the dreamers' lives. Each morning, while the valley was still wrapped in mist and the others lingered in the gentle afterglow of their dreams, Velis would sit by the shrine, quill in hand, and transcribe the night's journeys into his growing journal. He wrote with careful, looping script, capturing not only the words but the feelings behind them. The tremor in a voice, the hush that followed a difficult memory, the laughter that sometimes bubbled up in the telling of a dream. His journal became a living record, a testament to the Fellowship's shared journey through the ever-shifting landscape of Azura's realm. It was a comfort to those who feared the future, a guide for those who sought meaning in the patterns of their sleep, and a legacy for those who would come after. The dreamers soon came to cherish Velis's role. Each morning, they would gather around him, eager to hear his gentle retelling of the night's visions. He had a way of weaving their stories together, finding connections and echoes that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. Through Velis's words, the dreamers began to see themselves not as isolated souls, but as part of a greater whole, a fellowship bound by shared experience and the gentle wisdom of Azura. Velis's work was not without its challenges. There were nights when the dreams were troubled, when shadows flickered at the edge of the dream road, and sorrow weighed heavy on the Fellowship. On these mornings, Velis's voice was softer, his touch more gentle, as he helped the dreamers find meaning and hope even in the darkest visions. He reminded them that change was the nature of dusk and dawn, and that every ending carried within it the promise of a new beginning. As the seasons passed, Velis's journal grew thick with stories. He recorded the rituals and songs of the Fellowship, the lessons learned and the bonds forged. He wrote of the Moon and Star ritual, the shared journeys along the dream road, the visions of change that shaped the dreamers' lives. He captured the laughter of children, the wisdom of elders, the quiet moments of peace that filled the valley at dusk. His journal became a treasure, a source of comfort and inspiration for all who read its pages. In time, Velis's role as keeper of memories extended beyond the Fellowship. Pilgrims who visited the shrine would share their own dreams and stories, trusting that Velis would honor their experiences with the same care and respect he gave to the dreamers. He welcomed them all, recording their tales alongside those of the Fellowship, weaving a tapestry that stretched far beyond the valley's borders. Through Velis's work, the memory of the dreamers endured. Even as faces changed and seasons turned, the heart of the Fellowship remained strong, rooted in the stories that Velis so lovingly preserved. The dreamers knew that, whatever the future might hold, they would never be forgotten. Their dreams, their hopes, their moments of transformation, all were safe in the hands of the Keeper of Memories, a gentle guardian of Azura's twilight legacy. In the hush of the valley, where the twilight lingered and the dreamers found comfort in each other's company, there came a time when the gentle rhythm of their fellowship was interrupted by a quiet struggle, one that unfolded not in the open, but in the heart of a single dreamer. Nyril, a young woman with eyes the color of storm-tossed water, had always been sensitive to the shifting tides of Azura's realm. Her dreams were vivid and often beautiful, but one night, a vision arrived that left her shaken and uncertain. She saw herself standing at a crossroads, the dream road splitting before her into paths shrouded in mist. On one path, she glimpsed the faces of her friends, their laughter echoing like music through the dreamscape. On the other, she saw a distant city, its towers gleaming in the dawn, and felt the pull of adventure, the promise of a life she had never dared to imagine. The vision was both a gift and a burden, for it forced Nyril to confront a truth she had long kept hidden, the longing for something more, for a destiny that might lie beyond the valley's gentle embrace. In the days that followed, Nyril grew quiet and withdrawn. She joined the nightly gatherings, walked the dream road with her companions, but her heart was troubled. She confided in Velis, the keeper of memories, whose wisdom was as steady as the stars. He listened patiently as she spoke of her vision, of the fear that she might lose herself or her place among the dreamers if she followed the call of her heart. Velis reminded her that Azura's gifts were never meant to bind, but to guide. Change is the nature of dusk and dawn, he said, echoing the lessons that had shaped the fellowship. The dreams you receive are not commands, but invitations. Only you can choose the path that is right for you. Still, the dilemma weighed heavily on Nyril. She feared disappointing those who had become her family, feared the loneliness that might come with choosing a new path. Yet the vision lingered, returning night after night, growing clearer with each passing dream. She saw herself standing at the edge of the valley, the world stretching out before her, and felt the ache of longing, the thrill of possibility. One evening, as the dreamers gathered for the Moon and Star ritual, Nyril found herself standing before Azura's statue, her hands trembling. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer, asking for guidance, for the courage to face whatever future awaited her. In the silence that followed, she felt a presence, a gentle warmth, like the touch of sunlight on her skin. Azura's voice, soft as a sigh, filled her mind. Trust in the journey, child of dusk and dawn. The path you choose is yours alone, but you will never walk it without my blessing. With these words, Nyril felt a sense of peace settle over her. She understood, at last, that the dilemma she faced was not a punishment, but a gift, a chance to grow, to discover who she truly was. She shared her vision with the fellowship, her voice steady and clear. The dreamers listened with compassion, offering support and understanding. They reminded her that the bonds they shared would not be broken by distance or change, that the love of the fellowship would follow her wherever she went. In time, Nyril made her choice. She would leave the valley, at least for a while, to seek the city she had seen in her dreams. The farewell was bittersweet, marked by tears and laughter, by promises to remember and to return. As she walked away from the shrine, the dreamers watched her go, their hearts full of pride and hope. They knew that her journey was a part of their own, that every path taken by a dreamer added to the richness of their shared story. Nyril's dilemma became a lesson for all who remained. They learned that true fellowship was not about holding on, but about letting go with love. They understood that the dreams Azura sent were not always easy, but that they always carried the promise of growth and transformation. And in the quiet moments before dawn, as they walked the dream road together, they carried Nyril's memory with them, a reminder that every choice, every journey, was a thread in the tapestry of Azura's twilight, woven with hope, courage, and the gentle wisdom of the Lady of Dusk and Dawn. As the dreamers walked the dream road and wrestled with the visions of change, there came a time when the valley itself seemed to exhale, and the world above opened wide to the endless sky. It was during these nights, when the clouds parted and the heavens revealed their full splendor, that the dreamers found a solace deeper than words, a balm for all uncertainty and sorrow, the comfort of the stars. On such a night, the valley would be bathed in a gentle, silvery glow. The shrine stones, polished by countless hands, shimmered faintly, and the statue of Azura seemed almost to breathe, her outstretched arms gathering the starlight as if to cradle the entire fellowship in her embrace. The air was crisp and still, carrying the faint scent of night-blooming flowers and the distant call of a nightbird. The dreamers would gather in silence, each finding a place among the wild grasses and soft moss, their faces turned upward to the sky. For the dreamers, the stars were more than distant fires or cold, indifferent lights. They were ancient companions, witnesses to every joy and sorrow, every hope and fear that had ever passed through the valley. The stars had watched over the first steps of Seren, had listened to the whispered prayers of Velis, and had marked the farewells and reunions that shaped the Fellowship's story. In their patient, unchanging gaze, the dreamers found reassurance that they, too, were part of something vast and eternal. On these nights, Seren would sometimes speak, her voice barely above a whisper. She would tell stories of the constellations, of the warrior and the mage, the thief and the serpent, each tale a thread in the tapestry of Tamriel's history. She spoke of how the stars had guided travelers through darkness, had marked the turning of seasons and the rise and fall of empires. She reminded the dreamers that, just as the stars endured through every storm and shadow, so too could they find strength to face whatever changes lay ahead. But more often, the comfort of the stars came not from words, but from silence. The dreamers would lie side by side, their bodies warmed by the earth, their hearts beating in quiet rhythm with the night. They would watch as shooting stars traced brief, brilliant arcs across the sky, each one a reminder of the beauty and impermanence of all things. In those moments, the boundaries between self and other, between past and future, seemed to dissolve, leaving only a sense of peace and belonging. Sometimes, a dreamer would share a memory, a moment of pain or joy, a longing or regret, and the others would listen, their faces illuminated by starlight. There was no judgment, no need to fix or explain, only the quiet assurance that every story, every feeling, was welcome beneath the sky. The stars, after all, had seen it all before and would see it all again. In their presence, the dreamers learned to let go of their fears, to trust in the unfolding of their own journeys. For Velis, the keeper of memories, these nights were especially precious. He would sit with his journal open, capturing the mood of the gathering in careful, poetic script. He wrote of the hush that fell over the valley, the way the stars seemed to draw forth the deepest truths from each dreamer. He recorded the laughter that sometimes bubbled up, the tears that fell without shame, the moments of quiet understanding that needed no words at all. In the comfort of the stars, Velis found the heart of the Fellowship, a love that endured through every change and challenge. As the hours slipped by and the first hints of dawn colored the horizon, the dreamers would rise and return to the shrine. They would offer thanks to Azura, to the stars, and to each other, their spirits renewed by the night's gentle magic. The comfort of the stars lingered in their hearts, a quiet strength that carried them through the days to come. And so, beneath the endless sky, the dreamers learned that they were never truly alone. The stars watched over them, as they had watched over all who came before, and would continue to shine long after their own stories had faded into memory. In their light, the dreamers found hope, courage, and the unshakable comfort that comes from knowing one's place in the great, unfolding story of the world. There are nights in the valley when the dreamers gather beneath Azura's gentle gaze, and the world feels suspended between breaths. On such a night, as the stars shimmered above and the shrine stones glowed faintly in the moonlight, a stranger arrived at the edge of the circle. He was a traveler, his cloak torn and his steps uncertain, his face marked by the weariness of long roads and deeper wounds. The dreamers welcomed him without question, offering a place by the fire and a bowl of warm broth, their kindness a balm even before words could be spoken. The traveler's name was Ervel. He had come from far beyond the valley, drawn by rumors of the dreamers and the peace that could be found in their company. His journey had been long and fraught with hardship. He bore the scars of battle and the invisible weight of grief, losses that haunted his every waking moment and troubled his dreams with restless shadows. For many nights, sleep had eluded him, and when it came, it brought only visions of sorrow and regret. Saren, sensing the depth of his pain, guided Arvel to the shrine as dusk settled over the land. She spoke softly, inviting him to rest at the feet of Azura's statue, where so many before him had found solace. The dreamers gathered close, their presence a silent reassurance, and together they began the gentle ritual of the healing sleep. The ritual was simple, yet profound. The dreamers sang a low, wordless melody, their voices weaving through the night like a gentle breeze. The sound was neither loud nor insistent, but it carried the power of unity and hope, a lullaby for the weary soul. Saren placed her hand on Arvel's shoulder, and he felt a warmth spread through his body, easing the tension that had gripped him for so long. As Arvel closed his eyes, the world of the shrine faded away, replaced by the soft, luminous realm of Azura's twilight. He found himself walking along the dream road, the path illuminated by a gentle starlight that seemed to pulse with every beat of his heart. The burdens he carried felt lighter here, the pain less sharp, as if the very air was infused with healing. In this dream, Arvel wandered through fields of blue and violet flowers, their petals cool and fragrant beneath his fingertips. He heard the distant sound of water, the laughter of unseen companions, and the soothing whisper of Azura's voice. "Rest now, child of sorrow," she murmured, her words wrapping around him like a blanket. "Let your wounds be tended by the peace of the night, and know that you are not alone." As he walked, Arvel's memories rose to meet him, not as sharp, painful reminders, but as gentle echoes. He saw the faces of those he had lost, their smiles undimmed by time or grief. He felt their presence beside him, their love undiminished by distance or death. In the dream, there was no need for words. The comfort of the stars and the embrace of the dreamers were enough. When Arvel finally awoke, the first light of dawn was creeping over the horizon. The pain in his body had eased, and the heaviness in his heart had lifted, replaced by a quiet sense of hope. The dreamers greeted him with gentle smiles, their eyes reflecting the peace he now felt. Saren offered him a cup of tea brewed from wild herbs, and Velis, the keeper of memories, recorded the story of his healing in the Fellowship's journal. The healing sleep became a cherished ritual among the dreamers. Whenever one of their number was burdened by sorrow or pain, the Fellowship would gather at the shrine, their voices rising in gentle harmony, their presence a reminder that no one need suffer alone. In the realm of dreams, wounds could be tended, hearts could be mended, and hope could be restored. For Arvel, the valley became a place of renewal. He stayed for many moons, sharing his own stories and learning the ways of the dreamers. He found purpose in tending the shrine, in singing the songs of healing, and in welcoming others who arrived in need. Through the healing sleep, he discovered that even the deepest wounds could be softened by the gentle wisdom of Azura and the unwavering support of Fellowship. And so, the dreamers continued their nightly journeys, their circle ever expanding, their hearts ever open. Beneath the watchful eyes of the stars, they learned that healing was not a solitary path, but a journey walked together, a gift given and received, night after night, in the soothing embrace of Azura's twilight. There are nights in the valley when the world seems to pause, and the sky itself becomes a great cathedral of light and sound. On these rare evenings, the dreamers gather not only to share their dreams, but to offer something back to the world, a song woven from memory, hope, and the quiet magic of Azura's twilight. It is a tradition that began in the earliest days of the Fellowship, born from a simple impulse, to give voice to the beauty and sorrow that filled their hearts, and to let that voice rise into the night, joining the silent music of the stars. The song of the night sky is not a single melody, but a tapestry of voices, each dreamer contributing their own note, their own story. Some sing words, others hum or whistle, and still others simply listen, their hearts beating in time with the rhythm of the night. The song is always different, shaped by the moods and memories of those who gather, yet it is always the same in its purpose, to honor the mysteries of the world, and to remind each dreamer that they are part of something vast and eternal. On the night of the song, the dreamers prepare the shrine with special care. Wildflowers are woven into garlands and draped over the stones, their petals glowing softly in the moonlight. Candles are placed in a wide circle, their flames flickering like tiny stars. The air is cool and fragrant, filled with the scent of moss and night-blooming jasmine, and the hush that falls over the valley is deep and expectant. Saren, as always, is the first to begin. Her voice is clear and gentle, rising into the air like a prayer. She sings of the first dreamer, of journeys begun and paths yet to be walked. Her song is joined by Velis, whose deep, steady tones speak of memory and endurance, of the stories that bind the fellowship together. One by one, the other dreamers add their voices. Arvel, whose melody carries the ache of healing and hope. Nyril, whose song is bright with the promise of new beginnings. And countless others, each note a thread in the tapestry of the night. As the song grows, it seems to fill the valley, echoing off the mountains and rising into the sky. The stars above shimmer in response, their light pulsing in time with the music. Some dreamers close their eyes, letting the sound wash over them. Others gaze upward, their faces illuminated by the gentle glow of the heavens. In this moment, all boundaries fall away. There is no sorrow that cannot be eased, no joy that cannot be shared. The song carries everything, grief and gratitude, longing and love, lifting it into the night where it becomes part of the world's great, ongoing story. The Song of the Night Sky is more than a ritual. It is a form of healing, a way for the dreamers to release what they cannot carry alone and to draw strength from the fellowship that surrounds them. For some, it is a chance to remember those who have gone before, their voices echoing in the harmonies of the present. For others, it is a way to mark a new beginning, to set intentions for the days to come. For all, it is a reminder that they are not alone, that their dreams and their stories matter. As the final notes fade into silence, the dreamers remain together, their hearts full and their spirits light. The stars above seem to shine more brightly, as if in blessing, and the valley is filled with a peace that lingers long after the last candle has been extinguished. The Song of the Night Sky becomes a memory, carried in the hearts of all who were present, a source of comfort and inspiration in the days and nights that follow. In this way, the dreamers honor Azura and the mysteries of dusk and dawn. They give thanks for the beauty and sorrow of the world, for the dreams that guide them and the fellowship that sustains them. And as they drift into sleep, the echoes of the song follow them into the realm of dreams, a gentle reminder that every voice, every story, is part of the great music of the night sky. Even in the valley where the dreamers' bond seemed as enduring as the stars, the shadow of doubt could slip silently among them, as inevitable as dusk following day. It began as a whisper, barely noticed, easily dismissed, a question that lingered at the edge of dreams and in the silences between songs. Was their fellowship truly blessed by Azura, or merely a comforting illusion? Was the peace they found in ritual and shared vision a gift, or a fragile shelter from the world's harsher truths? The shadow first took shape with the arrival of a stranger, a Dunmere scholar named Talion. He came not as a seeker of comfort, but as a collector of stories, a man whose heart had been hardened by years of study and disappointment. Talion watched the dreamers with a critical eye, his questions sharp and unrelenting. He asked how they could trust the visions they received in sleep, how they could know that Azura's voice was not simply their own hopes echoing back at them. He wondered aloud whether the rituals that brought such unity might also bind them too tightly, blinding them to the world beyond the valley. At first, the dreamers met his skepticism with patience. Saren welcomed him to the circle, offering the same gentle hospitality she gave to all who arrived at the shrine. Velis, the keeper of memories, listened to Talion's doubts, and recorded them in the journal, believing that every voice deserved a place in their story. But as the days passed, the stranger's questions began to take root, unsettling the peace that had long defined the Fellowship. Some dreamers found themselves looking inward, questioning the meaning of their own visions. Had they truly been guided by Azura, or had they simply woven meaning from coincidence and longing? Others grew defensive, their trust in the Fellowship shaken by the suggestion that their unity was a kind of self-deception. The rituals that had once brought comfort now felt tinged with uncertainty, and the nightly gatherings grew quieter, the circle tighter and more guarded. Saren felt the shadow most keenly. She worried that she had led her friends astray, that her gift of prophecy was nothing more than a dreamer's fancy. In her sleep, her visions became clouded, the dream road twisting into unfamiliar paths. She saw the faces of her companions, their features blurred by doubt, their voices distant and uncertain. Azura's presence, once a constant comfort, now seemed elusive, a flicker at the edge of perception, a song half remembered. Yet even as doubt crept through the valley, the dreamers found ways to meet it. They began to speak more openly of their fears, sharing their uncertainties as freely as their hopes. Velis encouraged these conversations, believing that the shadow of doubt could only be dispelled by the light of honesty. The dreamers listened to one another with renewed patience, their bond tested but not broken. They learned that faith was not the absence of doubt, but the courage to continue seeking meaning even when certainty was lost. On a night when the stars were hidden by clouds and the air was thick with the promise of rain, Saren stood before the shrine and spoke to the Fellowship. Her voice trembled, but her words were clear. "We do not gather here because we are certain," she said. "We gather because we hope. We dream because we long for meaning, and we share our dreams because we trust one another. Doubt is not our enemy. It is the shadow that proves the presence of light." The dreamers listened, and in the silence that followed, something shifted. The shadow of doubt did not vanish, but it lost its power to divide. The Fellowship was not weakened by uncertainty, but strengthened by the honesty with which they faced it. Their rituals regained their meaning, not as guarantees of truth, but as acts of faith, choices made in the face of mystery, gestures of trust in one another and in the gentle wisdom of Azura. Talion, the scholar, remained in the valley for a time. He continued to ask questions, but his skepticism softened as he witnessed the resilience of the dreamers' bond. He came to understand that their unity was not a denial of doubt, but a testament to the strength that could be found in vulnerability and hope. And so, the dreamers learned to walk with the shadow of doubt, to welcome it as part of their journey. They discovered that true fellowship was not the absence of uncertainty, but the willingness to face it together, to seek meaning in the darkness, and to celebrate the light wherever it could be found. In this way, the dreamers honored Azura, not as a distant, infallible guide, but as a companion on the path between dusk and dawn, where every shadow is met by the promise of a new day. In the valley where the dreamers gathered, the passing of seasons brought subtle transformations. The wildflowers that once carpeted the shrine stones faded and bloomed anew, their colors shifting with the cycle of the moons. The air, once thick with the fragrance of summer, now carried the crisp promise of autumn. These changes, gentle and inevitable, mirrored the quiet evolution unfolding within the hearts of the dreamers themselves. After the shadow of doubt had passed through the fellowship, leaving behind a deeper honesty and a more resilient trust, the dreamers found themselves entering a new phase, one marked by a growing sense of clarity. It was as if the very light of dawn was seeping into their lives, illuminating old fears and misunderstandings, and revealing the threads of connection and meaning that had always been there, waiting to be seen. The dreamers became more attuned to the lessons woven into the world around them. In the shifting colors of the sky at dusk, they saw Azura's gentle reminder that beauty could be found in every ending, just as hope could be found in every beginning. They watched the play of sunlight and shadow on the shrine stones and understood that joy and sorrow, doubt and faith were not opposites, but companions, each giving shape and depth to the other. Saren, who had long carried the burden of leadership, found herself transformed by this new understanding. She no longer felt the need to have all the answers, or to shield her companions from uncertainty. Instead, she embraced the role of guide and fellow traveler, sharing her own struggles and insights with humility. The dreamers responded in kind, their nightly gatherings becoming spaces of true sharing, where vulnerability was met not with judgment, but with compassion. The valley itself seemed to respond to the fellowship's awakening. The shrine grew more beautiful with each passing day, the wildflowers blooming in unexpected patterns, their petals forming shapes that echoed the constellations above. The trees surrounding the shrine whispered in the wind, their leaves rustling with secrets and blessings. Even the animals of the valley, birds, foxes, and shy deer, appeared more frequently, as if drawn by the harmony that now radiated from the circle of dreamers. One morning, as the first light of dawn crept over the mountains, Velis gathered the dreamers at the shrine. He opened his journal, its pages thick with years of dreams and memories, and began to read aloud the stories that had shaped their fellowship. As he spoke, the dreamers listened in silence, their faces bathed in the golden glow of sunrise. They heard echoes of their own journeys and the tales of those who had come before, struggles with doubt, moments of revelation, acts of kindness and courage. As the stories unfolded, the dreamers realized that their fellowship was not a static thing, but a living, breathing community shaped by the choices and experiences of each member. They saw that every moment, joyful or painful, certain or uncertain, was a thread in the tapestry of their shared life. They understood that understanding itself was not a destination, but a process, a dawn that could be welcomed again and again, each time with new wonder and gratitude. The dreamers began to see Azura's lessons in the smallest details of daily life. In the laughter of children playing near the shrine, they recognized the freedom that comes from trust. In the quiet peace of dusk, they found the courage to let go of old hurts and embrace new possibilities. In the gentle touch of a friend's hand, they felt the reassurance that they were never alone. This dawning understanding brought with it a sense of peace that lingered long after the sun had risen. The dreamers carried it with them through the challenges and joys of each day, returning to the shrine each night not out of habit or obligation, but out of love, a love for Azura, for the valley, and for one another. And so, in the valley where the dreamers gathered, the dawn of understanding continued to unfold, soft and steady, like the first light of morning, reminding all who walked the dream road that every day was a new beginning, and that the wisdom of dusk and dawn was always within reach, waiting to be discovered anew. In the valley where the dreamers had built their fellowship, time flowed gently, marked not by the relentless march of days, but by the rhythms of ritual, the cycle of dreams, and the quiet transformations of the heart. Yet even in this sanctuary, change was inevitable. It came softly, like the first blush of dawn, or suddenly, like a summer storm. And so it was that the dreamers came to face a farewell, a moment both sorrowful and beautiful, woven with the wisdom of their shared journey. Velis, the keeper of memories, had grown old. His hair, once dark as the midnight sky, was now silvered, and his hands trembled slightly as he turned the pages of the great journal he had filled with years of dreams and stories. He had watched the fellowship grow from a handful of seekers into a thriving circle, had recorded their visions and their struggles, had offered comfort and counsel to each new arrival. Now, as the seasons changed and the air grew cool with the promise of autumn, Velis felt the gentle tug of his own journey's end. He spoke of it quietly, without fear. Every dreamer, he told Saren one evening as they sat beneath the stars, must one day walk a path alone, beyond even the reach of Azura's twilight. But I do not fear what comes next. I have seen the way the dream road bends toward dawn. The dreamers gathered to honor Velis, their hearts heavy yet full of gratitude. They prepared the shrine with special care, laying garlands of wildflowers and lighting candles whose flames flickered like distant constellations. That night, as the moons rose high and the valley was bathed in silver light, Velis asked for one last ritual, a final journey into the realm of dreams, surrounded by those he loved. The fellowship formed a circle around him, their hands joined, their voices rising in a gentle song. Saren led the prayer, her words of blessing and of farewell. Azura, Lady of Dusk and Dawn, guide our friend as he walks the dream road. Let him find peace in the twilight, and may his spirit be welcomed by the stars. Velis closed his eyes and surrendered to sleep. In his dream, he found himself standing at the edge of a tranquil sea, its surface shimmering with the colors of dusk. The air was soft and warm, filled with the scent of distant blossoms and the sound of gentle waves. On the horizon, the sun and moons danced together, their light mingling in a radiant embrace. He walked along the shore, feeling the sand cool beneath his feet, and as he did, he was joined by the faces of those who had gone before, dreamers whose stories he had recorded, whose memories now lived within the fellowship's heart. They greeted him with smiles and open arms, their presence a comfort deeper than words. Azura herself appeared, her form woven from starlight and shadow. She spoke to Velis not in words, but in feeling, a wave of love and gratitude that filled him with peace. He understood, in that moment, that every story, every dream, every act of kindness had been a thread in the tapestry of the fellowship, and that his own journey was not an ending, but a return, a merging with the greater whole. A final joining with the memory and wisdom of all who had come before. When dawn touched the valley, Velis's body lay still, his face serene, a faint smile lingering on his lips. The dreamers mourned his passing, their grief softened by the beauty of his farewell. They gathered at the shrine, sharing memories and stories, reading passages from his journal, their voices trembling with both sorrow and joy. Saren spoke last, her words a promise and a blessing. Velis walks the dream road still, his spirit a part of every dawn and every dream. We will remember him in our rituals, in our stories, and in the gentle wisdom he left behind. The dreamers honored Velis by continuing his work. They added their own dreams and visions to his journal, ensuring that the memory of the fellowship would endure for generations. In the quiet moments before sleep, they felt his presence, a gentle warmth, a whisper of encouragement, a reminder that the bonds they had forged would never be broken. And so, the farewell dream became not only a moment of parting, but a celebration of the journey shared, a testament to the love, courage, and hope that defined the dreamers, and a promise that every ending in Azura's twilight is but the beginning of a new dawn. After Velis's passing, the valley seemed to hold its breath, a gentle hush settling over the shrine, as if the land itself mourned and remembered. Yet, within that silence, something profound began to stir. The dreamers, though touched by grief, found themselves drawn ever more deeply into the rituals and memories that Velis had so lovingly preserved. His journal, thick with years of dreams, became both a comfort and a guide, a living testament to the fellowship's journey and the foundation for what would become their most enduring gift, the legacy of dreams. In the days that followed the farewell dream, Saren gathered the dreamers beneath the boughs of the shrine. She held Velis's journal open on her lap, its pages fluttering in the morning breeze, and invited each member of the fellowship to add their own visions, hopes, and memories. What began as a simple act of remembrance soon blossomed into a tradition. The dreamers wrote not only of their nightly journeys, but of the lessons they learned in waking life, the kindnesses exchanged, the doubts overcome, the moments of laughter and healing that defined their days. The journal grew, page by page, until it became a tapestry of voices, each entry a thread woven into the fabric of the dreamer's shared story. Newcomers to the valley found comfort in its pages, reading of those who had come before and recognizing echoes of their own struggles and triumphs. Children who had grown up beneath the watchful eyes of Azura added their first dreams in careful, looping script, their words full of wonder and promise. Elders, too, contributed their wisdom, reflecting on the cycles of change and renewal that shaped the fellowship. As the seasons turned, the legacy of dreams extended beyond the valley. Pilgrims who visited the shrine carried stories of the dreamers to distant lands, sharing tales of the moon and star ritual, the healing sleep, and the song of the night sky. Some brought back their own dreams, written on scraps of parchment or whispered in the hush of dusk, and these, too, found a place in the growing chronicle. The dreamer's journal became a living bridge, connecting hearts across miles and generations. The legacy was not only one of words, but of action. Inspired by the stories they preserved, the dreamers became known for their compassion and wisdom. They welcomed all who sought the comfort of Azura's twilight, offering guidance without judgment and healing without expectation. The rituals and songs that had once bound a small circle now echoed through the valley, drawing new voices into the fellowship and ensuring that no one need face the darkness alone. In quiet moments, Saren would reflect on the journey that had brought them here, from her first, trembling vision at Azura's shrine to the vibrant, ever-changing community that now flourished in the valley. She understood, as Velis had, that the true power of dreams was not in prophecy or escape, but in the connections they forged. Every dream shared, every memory honored, became a thread in the great tapestry of the world, a legacy that would endure long after the dreamers themselves had faded into legend. The dreamers often spoke of Velis, remembering his gentle wisdom and the way he had taught them to listen, not only to the voice of Azura, but to one another. His spirit lingered in the valley, a quiet presence felt in the hush before dawn, in the laughter of children, and in the peace that settled over the shrine at dusk. The journal he had begun was now a sacred trust, passed from hand to hand, each dreamer adding their own chapter to the story. As the years passed, the legacy of dreams grew ever richer. The dreamers' fellowship endured, weathering storms and celebrating joys, always returning to the shrine beneath the stars. They knew that their time in the valley was but one part of a greater story, a story woven from countless dreams, each one a gift from Azura, each one a promise that the light of hope would never fade. And so, the legacy of dreams became the dreamer's greatest offering, a living memory, a source of comfort and inspiration, and a beacon for all who wandered the twilight paths of the world. In every ending, they found a new beginning, and in every dream, the enduring wisdom of Azura, who watched over them always from the shifting border between dusk and dawn. In the valley where the dreamers gathered, the passing of Velis marked a turning point, a moment of profound loss, but also of renewal. The fellowship mourned their keeper of memories, yet as the days unfolded, it became clear that the circle he had helped forge was far from broken. Instead, the dreamers found themselves drawn closer together, their bonds tested and strengthened by grief, gratitude, and the enduring rituals that had always defined their lives beneath Azura's watchful gaze. With Velis's journal now a sacred trust, the dreamers took up the mantle of memory keepers. Saren, who had once been the first dreamer, became a gentle guide, encouraging each member of the fellowship to add their own stories, hopes, and visions to the growing tapestry. The act of recording dreams became a communal ritual, one that honored not only the past but also the living, breathing present. New voices joined the chorus, children who had grown up beneath the shrine's boughs, travelers who had come seeking solace and stayed to become family, and elders whose wisdom deepened with each season. The circle of dreamers expanded, ever open to those who arrived in need of comfort or belonging. No one was turned away. Each newcomer was welcomed with the same warmth and acceptance that had defined the fellowship since its earliest days. The rituals continued, the moon and star gatherings, the healing sleep, the song of the night sky, each ceremony a thread that wove the dreamers together through joy and sorrow, change and continuity. As the fellowship grew, so too did its legacy. The stories and dreams collected in Velis's journal began to travel beyond the valley, carried by pilgrims and wanderers to distant lands. Tales of the dreamers' kindness, their wisdom, and their unity inspired others to form circles of their own. small sanctuaries where the lessons of Azura's twilight could take root. In this way, the Dreamer's influence rippled outward, touching lives far beyond the reach of the shrine stones. Yet for all the growth and change, the heart of the Fellowship remained unchanged. The Dreamers understood that their greatest strength lay not in numbers, but in the unbroken circle of trust and compassion they offered one another. They faced each dawn with courage, each dusk with gratitude, knowing that whatever dreams might come, they would meet them together. The memory of Velis lingered in every ritual, every shared story, a gentle reminder that the bonds they had forged were stronger than time itself. And so, the circle remained unbroken, a living testament to the power of dreams, the resilience of hope, and the enduring wisdom of Azura, who watched over them always from the shifting border between dusk and dawn. The Dreamers' Fellowship endured, a beacon in the twilight, ever welcoming, ever whole. As the years passed in the valley, the Dreamers' circle remained unbroken, their rituals and stories weaving a tapestry that shimmered with memory and hope. Yet, as the seasons turned and generations came and went, the Dreamers began to sense that their journey was part of something vaster, an unending cycle, a twilight that stretched beyond the boundaries of their own lives and even the valley itself. This was the endless twilight, the eternal space between dusk and dawn, where dreams and waking, memory and prophecy, sorrow and joy all mingled in the gentle light of Azura's grace. The Dreamers grew to understand that their fellowship was not a destination, but a passage. Each vision, each ritual, each farewell was a threshold crossed, a lesson learned and shared. The journal, now thick with the handwriting of many hands, was no longer just a record of their own circle, but a living testament to all who had found solace beneath Azura's statue. Pilgrims from distant lands brought new dreams and stories, and the valley became a beacon, a place where the weary could rest, where the lost could find direction, and where every ending was honored as the beginning of something new. Some Dreamers ventured beyond the valley, carrying with them the wisdom and rituals of the Fellowship. They founded new circles in distant provinces, on windswept coasts, and in hidden mountain glades. In each place, the traditions adapted, shaped by the needs and dreams of those who gathered. Yet the heart of the teaching remained unchanged. The acceptance of change, the courage to face uncertainty, and the faith that even in the deepest night, the promise of dawn endured. Within the valley, the rituals became ever more attuned to the cycles of the world. The Moon and Star ritual marked the turning of seasons, and the Song of the Night Sky was sung by voices both old and new. The healing sleep was offered to all in need, and the dream road was walked by every generation, each step echoing the journeys of those who had come before. The Dreamers learned to see the valley itself as a living dream, its wildflowers and stones, its shifting light and shadow, all part of the endless twilight that bound them to Azura and to one another. As the Dreamers aged, they came to see their own lives as threads in a tapestry that would never be finished. The farewell dream was no longer a moment of parting, but a gentle crossing into the greater whole. The keeper of memories was succeeded by others, each adding their own wisdom to the growing legacy. Children grew into elders, and newcomers became family, their stories blending seamlessly into the Fellowship's song. And in the quiet hours before dawn, when the world was hushed and the stars shone brightest, the Dreamers would gather at the shrine, some in body, others in memory or spirit. They would sit in silence, feeling the presence of all who had come before and all who would come after. In that silence, they understood the true meaning of the endless twilight, that every dream, every life, every act of kindness or courage was a spark in the darkness, a note in the great music of the world. Azura's voice would sometimes come to them then, not as prophecy or command, but as a gentle reassurance, a whisper at the edge of sleep. You are never alone. The twilight is endless, and in its embrace, all things are remembered, all things are renewed. So the dreamer's legacy endured, not as a monument or a single story, but as an ever-unfolding dream, a fellowship without end, a circle unbroken, a twilight that would shine forever between dusk and dawn.